Welcome to another episode of the Josh and Friends podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And my guest this week is someone I've known for over 6 years now. We originally met at a call center about a year after I moved to Phoenix. It was crazy talking to him because I learned that we had similar backgrounds, but in different parts of the country. He's one of those guys that just lights up a room with his larger-than-life personality, someone who will talk shit, but only if it's to your face. And that's quite refreshing in this day and age. But I think my favorite part of working with this character was he had a super positive attitude. It could be like the shittiest day ever, and somehow he'd manage to make you laugh. That goes a long way. Well, it is my honor to introduce to you the man with a million great stories, the guy who always brightened every gloomy office, and someone who's definitely on my short list for an inappropriate joke at all the wrong times, Mr. Zeke Hudson. All right, man. Hey, it's good to have you on the show. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Josh. How are you, dude?
Doing well, man. Hey, you look good. So you've been working out?
I look good.
Yeah, you look good, man.
You're Seacrest, man. Always cleaned up, you know, and your hair on your face is a little longer than I've seen it, but you're still looking good, my friend.
Thank you.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Good, though.
Appreciate
That's why you may say, I look good, I'm feeling good.
Well, that's it. We did fill you up with the Jack and Coke before this. Always got to get you the Jack. No, Jack and Coke.
We'll talk about the beast later.
All right. So, hey, I just wanted to start by essentially working together. We started working together at FedEx. We're doing sales for FedEx. I knew a couple people, Rich Falls and
my guy.
A couple of the classics. So that was actually my first job when I moved to the Phoenix area.
Okay.
And didn't you say that it was your first job doing inside sales?
Yeah, that was my first call center job. I'm a retired Mason,
right?
20 plus years out there hustling in the sun. You understand what Masons do? Yeah,
absolutely.
And that was my first call center job. I think we met August of 2013.
Yeah, because I'd been there just about maybe about a year. I think it was there maybe over a year. Because I started in 2012 in March or something like that.
Okay, yeah, it's a little over a year.
But I just remember immediately you came in and you started kicking ass. Like you're one of the top people on the boards.
Yeah, I can sell.
Just slaying those numbers, and you were a big personality. I just remember this. I was like, man, this guy. This guy's awesome. I don't know much about him. I just hear him on the other side of the floor, making a ruckus. And
always, I like to talk to people.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That's probably why you're good at doing the sales. Mm-hmm. And like you said, we definitely had similar types of backgrounds, but that's what I initially connected with you, because I found that you had previously done masonry. Work, and then we also did like radio stuff in the day too. But it was funny. I just not move on from this real quick here. But remember when we were when they put us all in that row? It was like Murder's Row of all the the rowdy punks and me and you, Steve, and it was awesome.
Ooh,
Josh,
fun,
and it was great.
But we worked.
Oh yeah, no, we wouldn't.
Numbers.
Steve didn't, but yeah, we all worked really hard.
Steve Clunk.
Yeah, Steve Clunk would show up, 3 hours late, and be like, "Hey everyone, I'm here."
Different, dude. He's a different dude.
It's so great.
Good dude. Different.
Love
dude.
Steve. Yeah, no, it was great, but yeah, like I said, you worked in radio, I worked in radio, you worked in construction. I worked in construction, and for people that aren't familiar, what type of construction did you specialize in?
I did vertical work, so stuff that rose from the ground.
Gotcha.
I don't like flat work. Concrete, not that guy. I like to build something I can come back and see it there.
Right.
So my masonry company, we were J&Z Unique Masonry, and we did small projects.
So you started with your buddy. So it was like,
oh, Joe. Dude.
I remember hearing some stories about you guys going to like Mexico or.
That's where we got married and we partied out for 7 days.
Oh
dude.
God,
yeah.
I don't. Maybe I don't want to know about this.
Oh well.
Was it fun?
Oh,
you guys
come on, man. We did everything. You name it. There was a couple of guys, dude, that had some paper. And we were able to go out and have some fun. And he got married, and that was his high school sweetheart.
Oh, wow.
And they had moved from, where the hell did Joe move from? Oh, he moved from Washington.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he moved down to California.
Right.
And he moved with his high school sweetheart. And they didn't get married till they had been here like 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
That was tough.
Did you mostly do residential or did you do commercial and stuff like that?
I was licensed in both.
Okay.
You know, residential, commercial, because you don't want to limit yourself if you're a mason. And my specialty was small jobs. So you have an office building or a school, which we did a lot of. They would want to add a building, and it had to be masonry, had to match the existing.
Did you guys
go in and do
Did you guys have a crew, or was it just you guys hauling shit around?
It started just me, Joe, and like a couple of guys we knew, and
a couple of guys from Home
4
Depot.
Guys. Well, no, Joe was a young Jewish dude, man.
Yeah.
Great dude. He used to always say his favorite thing was, the most dangerous creature on the planet is a bored white boy. And I'm like, what the hell is Joe talking about? But as we worked together and I got to know him, we ended up doing the Redneck Olympics. We got a mixer going. You got to throw a football in it. Then you got to run 50 feet and hit a tackling dummy. And we talking about in the middle of a residential street,
That's what I loved about construction is you could just do anything. You can screw off as long as you get. I mean, you're obviously going to get your work done.
Got to get it done.
But dude, in between that, you could talk how you want to talk. You can act like you want to act. You could screw around. You could, do stupid shit. Like one of my favorite stories about you talking about doing construction was that stupid idiotic contest that you guys had.
Oh yeah.
You got to explain the contest.
Well,
so ridiculous.
$100 is $100.
So this is for $100 that you guys did this.
$100. I'm on a job and I bought some Krispy Kremes and the guy said,
not some Krispy Kreme. How many was it? It was like
a dozen.
It was a dozen Krispy Kremes.
I meant to share. So I give you $100 if you can eat those donuts in a half hour. And I'm thinking, I can do this.
I mean, it sounds delicious.
I had beer in the cooler, dog.
Oh, God. Gross.
I had something to
You had beer in the
wash it
cooler.
down.
This is like, okay, so this is still in the morning.
4:30, quarter to 5 in the morning before the job starts.
Okay, so did you win? Did you win the $100?
I ate all 12 of the Krispy Kreme donuts. They're kind of small. Knocked them down, drank 3 Budweisers. Here it is 5 a.m. and now I'm ready to go to work.
Oh, my God. That is gross. Please tell me. That did not end well.
No. I said I started work.
Right.
By about 10 o'clock, got a little heartburn, stomach started bubbling.
Oh, gosh.
And we happened to be getting ready to grout a wall. So I just let it go in the wall, dog.
Oh, it's like, so forever there's just some donuts and some beer that are just trapped.
Krispy Kremes and Budweisers.
Just
in
trapped
a wall
forever.
In Phoenix.
Yeah. Do you know where that is exactly?
Oh, I remember the job.
I want to see this famous job site, by the way.
If we ever drive by, I'll let you know.
Okay, deal. So now, before all this, you actually worked in radio.
Yeah.
I love hearing about your radio stories. You have tons of these because how many years did you work in radio?
I worked at KJLH in Los Angeles. Worked for Stevie Wonder for 10 years.
Okay, so is that the first job that you got working in radio?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you get on at that radio station? I want to just and explain what that is. Like, Stevie Wonder had a radio station?
He owns, I don't know if he still owns, but he owned at one time.
If he's smart, he doesn't own any anymore, but
I'm pretty sure he does because his brother
okay.
ran
Oh,
them.
gotcha. Okay.
But he owned 5 major market R&B radio stations.
Okay.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And there's laws that you can't own so many, but if you're in a different market, different city, then you can own a station. And he happened to place himself where he owned 5+ stations in major markets across the United States.
Wow.
I happened to work at the one in LA.
Wow, that's awesome. So what did you just what did you just apply, or how did you get in there?
Well, it was real easy. You know, not a lot of people want to intern at an R&B station. You know,
So where were you?
There.
Where were you an intern from? What school were you in?
I went to Mount San Antonio College, and
Okay.
that's where I got my associate's degree in radio and television broadcasting.
Right on.
And during that, my first year,
It's so
you
weird
know,
that
they
we have
like-
the same degree. Even we have like the same degree.
Yeah,
That's
well,
hilarious.
And you know, you got to find an internship. And I
Yeah.
thought, you know, and they said, you know, reach for the stars and settle for the desert.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, heck, you know, I want to work at KGLH. It was the biggest R&B station in LA, and I went down there, and you know.
So what year are we looking at here? What like era? Is this
man,
like the late '80s, or is this
Yeah,
like okay? So
I was in the Navy from 82 to 85, and I was going to school to be a draftsman. I worked with my mom at this chemical engineering firm.
Yeah.
And she just retired from there after 42 years, you know, and recently she retired, and I'm thinking.
what? Your mom just retired, or?
Yeah.
Oh
my
wow.
mom. She had been there forever.
Your
you know.
mom is like, yeah, she was still working just up until a little while ago.
She
so,
worked for
yeah.
her grandbabies.
Wow.
And, you know,
amazing.
I walked in and I just took my resume, which I didn't have much there, but I was only looking for an internship.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, we got a spot with the music director. And, you know, within 2 weeks, I was there, you know, bam, at 4 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday.
That's important. You got that military time in you, where you know that we can count on this guy.
Yeah,
he's going to
there.
be there.
Yeah.
That means a lot. And so Stevie would come in all the time. You said, right?
He did all the drops and liners since he spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, but he also spent a lot of time back in his hometown in Detroit. And, you know, sometimes he would be there in L.A. and he'd come in and do the drops and liners for the station. If you don't know what that is, that's the sound of the station.
Right,
so you'll
right.
hear KJLH and then all of the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
But the voice, you know, this is Stevie Wonder. And, you know, people didn't know he owned the station,
Yeah.
but he did the drops and liners for them, and he would do it for stations, all of his stations. We'd do them right there in L.A.
That's awesome, man. Like, and it was funny. I loved those stories about where you're like, dude, you have no idea about how keen his senses were, because you said that you'd just walk in like the room, you'd like try to sneak up on him. You have to. It's like, so it's fascinating. Like you said, you'd walk in and then you're like, he would just know. He's like, he'd know it was you. And I'm like, that's crazy, dude. Like,
I tried to sneak up on him. He'd be sitting there playing the piano,
So
you
great.
know, and we did all the production work,
Yeah.
so he didn't do nothing unless we were there. And so he'd be there just, you know, playing the keyboards, and I'd call myself, I'm going to sneak up on Stevie Wonder.
It's so
and
great.
His head would whip around. I can smell you, Zeke, in that cheap cologne you wear. I'm like, come on, man.
Come on. That's like, by the way, and just so anybody isn't familiar with it, it's like your phrase. You're like, come on, man. Like what is that? What was that old? Was that a commercial that used to do that? Come on, man. Anyway.
You know, we were doing that before the commercial, dude. A lot of this stuff starts
Yeah.
in the streets.
You're
and
right,
some
right.
dude hears it, you know, as he's buying the paper on Sunday.
That's
you know,
awesome.
and then he takes it back,
Right,
and now
right.
it's on TV.
Exactly,
Now, that's
exactly.
mine,
Right.
man.
It originated from you, so
No,
we'll just
well, I don't know, but you know.
kind of like when Michael Jackson stole the moonwalk, and then
Oh, yeah, nah.
yeah.
All you gotta do is watch an old Beat Street movie. You know, they were doing it in New York way before
Oh,
Mike.
that's awesome.
You know?
That's awesome. Now, so working at the Stevie. So I don't know like how much you want to get into this, but like there's so many. I'm so fascinated with Stevie. Listen, Stevie Wonder is so like he is. I mean, you have people that are like legendary in the music, and then there's like Stevie Wonder. I mean, he's
different.
He's like in a different level of
but
you know, he's so huge.
Me dealing with him
Yeah.
was on a personal level
Right.
at the radio station.
Right,
It's
right.
like I never was invited to his house for dinner.
Sure.
But we'd have an hour or two, 3 times a year in that production room.
Hey, that's more than most people get ever in history. I mean, think about it. You know, it's not like you're having duets with him in the studio or anything.
I can't sing a lick.
So you're doing the Stevie Wonder right now, like, and the famous back and forth head. I was actually watching this video on YouTube just yesterday. Just typed in Stevie Wonder, and they were doing karaoke in cars with that James Corden guy. You know that guy, that English guy that does
Saw
those?
that show, yeah.
So did you see that episode where
I
they
didn't
did this?
see the episode, but I've seen that show.
So check this out. So they start off the episode. This is how they started off. They started off with Stevie Wonder is in the driver's seat. And then
I've seen that.
Yeah, so James. So this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going with this. So James is like, okay, this isn't funny. Maybe we should switch seats. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? And it's like blah blah blah. It's the whole joke. It's been done a million times, but from what I have heard from you, this is not actually that much of a stretch. It's not a big joke.
No.
So, why don't you explain this? This is hilarious. Like, so,
Suzuki Samurai. You remember that? You remember that little Jeep?
Yeah.
Small, not worth anything. I don't think you can find one in a wrecking yard now.
Okay, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we were giving one away at the radio station. Convertible, real nice, had wheels on it, rims, beautiful little Suzuki Samurai.
Yeah.
And it was a Sunday, and if anybody knows Crenshaw Boulevard in L.A. and California, on Sundays they cruise.
Right.
And the movie, Boys in the Hood, they showed the guys cruising on Crenshaw. Well, we used to have the curtains open and you could see the cars going by. That's a real deal, dude. For years, I'm thinking like 40 years. You can go Sunday, 2 o'clock tomorrow. Right. They're cruising on Crenshaw.
That's kind of like they had a smaller, I mean, obviously on a very smaller scale, this strip in Tacoma, Washington.
Everybody's got one.
Yeah. And it was so funny. You just like watch these guys just go like down by the water. It's always by the water. Down by the water, and then they kind of like turn around and they're like, hey, wait a minute, I just saw that they're just doing circles down by the water, like in their nice cars and blah blah blah. Alki Beach in Seattle. It's like you're right. Every town has their little So you said that Stevie would want to drive.
Oh yeah, he tells the station manager,
Stevie Wonder. For anybody that might be listening that's under 35 years old that isn't familiar with Stevie Wonder, he is, gosh, he might be the most famous. Him and Ray Charles are the most famous blind people maybe ever. Like, well,
at
certainly,
this time,
in
Helen Keller.
Yeah, exactly, Helen Keller. Yeah, I mean, you have some famous blind people, but they're certainly of the last 80 years.
Helen Keller didn't sell millions of records.
No,
so.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Helen Keller doesn't have 20 songs that I could sing by heart.
No.
But you said that he would always want to drive.
Dude, we're working. I want to drive, and
Right. I love these stories. We're like,
about it.
So what would happen? Would he actually drive, or would this be something that you're like, okay, haha, funny, like?
We want to take you for a ride. So we all get in the Suzuki Samurai that we're giving away. Yeah. And so we're doing Crenshaw. Everybody notices Stevie Wonder's in the ride. And once again, he looks, and the station manager at that time, Cliff Winston, God rest his soul, he died about 5-6 years ago. So he died.
Sucks.
Great dude, yeah. But, he's like, well, let him drive. Stevie Wonder gets in the driver's seat.
Now, you guys are in the car.
Me and Jeff Goff are in the back seat of this Suzuki Samurai. Cliff Winston and Stevie Wonder are in the front. Now, Cliff Winston was driving. We on Crenshaw at a stoplight. Cliff gets out, Stevie moves over.
So great.
And so we in bumper to bumper traffic. And
Oh
Stevie
my
Wonder's
God.
driving. And Cliff Winston, slow down, stop! Stevie slams the brake, man, don't do that. We in the back just
this is so amazing.
Up. So it was just weird.
Here's why it's so amazing, because either way, it's a great story. If you get in a bad accident, Stevie Wonder was the driver.
Nobody would believe it.
But even if they did, it would be like the greatest story ever. You're like, I got in a bad accident. Oh shit, how'd you break your arm? Stevie Wonder was driving.
Besides the accident, we got the cops threw the siren on us because they thought the vehicle was moving erratically. And of course, you're cruising, everybody's drinking.
Oh my God.
We got one. Cop walks up, sees Stevie Wonder sitting at the driving wheel, dude. Come on.
Who's going to believe that?
The cop looked at all us in the back, and we just all put our hands in the air. Hey, he's the boss. He wants to drive.
Holy shit, that is so amazing.
They didn't give us a ticket, but it's, hey, get him out of there. So
that is hilarious.
That's my Stevie Wonder
That is great.
Story.
I
He
love
drives.
it.
Yeah, he drives.
Love that. Can't make that shit up.
He drives.
No, because I saw this video too. It's like, I don't know what if it's called, like one of the old videos from like maybe the 68, 69, 70, something like that. One of those videos. So, like the hits back then. It was still like the Motown stuff,
Yeah.
And he's sitting in the back of a convertible, and they're going through like, it looks like the backdrop of Washington D.C. and he's kind of like kind of like singing up in the air and stuff like that. But I'm like, oh, he loves his cars. And I'm like, all I can think of is like your stories about Stevie.
And there's not to Stevie is a great guy, man. And when you're there and you're working with him, you have his undivided attention, and that just kind of separated him to me from other stars that I've met in radio. Because most of the time, they looked at us radio guys. Just a radio guy.
Right.
Stevie treated us like people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you were pretty young when you were working there?
Well,
or how old were you there at that time? Because you went to you did the Navy.
I went to the Navy first before I went to college. Yeah, so I was 25 when I went to college.
Oh, cool. So you have like a little bit of a seasoning to you.
I had a lot of friends in college because I could go buy some liquor,
Right. And you're definitely that guy, Mr. Party guy over here.
This is my list. If you can cover this, I can buy yours. Sometimes people are like, really? I'm like, really? So I had to find the right guy.
Oh gosh, the good old days. Now, when you were working there, another one of my favorite stories that's probably not appropriate for today, but it's one of those stories that
You're going
the
down
story
the Payola line,
I am
dude?
so,
Okay.
but people don't know what payola is. So like now the record companies, they would send over to the radio station packages, and so what payola is, real quick. Just to describe to people what that is, the record company would they would essentially pay money to have a song played on the radio.
I think it's still alive and well now.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but it became a pretty big scandal back in the 1950s when rock and roll music started and like DJs started accepting cash for certain songs, and it wasn't anything like they just thought of it. They're like, yeah, okay, because there's no rules back then, so it's like then it got into like a big thing where the top 40 started like making a difference.
The DJs had money then,
right? Yeah. They were like celebrities. They were the celebrities.
Yeah.
And some of these hits, God, just listening to some of these hits over the years were just you think about some of these songs that were like number one hits.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's no fucking way that this song was not payola. It's such a pile of shit.
You heard that yesterday, did you? Like, why is this number
dude,
one
it's
on
crazy.
my local rock and roll station?
Yeah, you just sometimes you hear a song, you're like, okay, that's a hit, and then other times you're like, what the fuck? What is that? What the fuck is this? This is terrible. I mean, that's when I always think about payola, but I really think about it now when I hear your stories about payola. So why don't you explain a little bit about your stories? So you would get a package, and we see you said
as an intern.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
This is as an intern?
As an intern.
Holy shit.
I worked for the music director. And this is when CDs first started coming out in the mid to late 80s. And they would send this box of CDs. There would be 25 in each one. Right. I remember the number because the box was a specific size. And that box would come in, and the music director left instructions. Nobody opened these boxes unless it's Zeke, who was her intern.
Yeah.
And I won't call her name.
No, don't. Yeah, leave out the name.
Yeah. So
nobody needs to know the name anyway.
So you'd have a lot of DJs, and those things would come in any day, Monday through Friday. Usually Monday was a day because stuff would be shipped out Friday, and you might mess around and have 3 or 4 stacks of CDs come in.
Sure.
And man, so I'd open them up and they'd be sitting there waiting. So, we knew, okay, this record is hot, but now it's going to go from being played once every 4 hours to once every hour.
Oh, God.
Because you sent some candy to the radio station.
So okay. So you described this. So you said it was like it was the top layer, or how did you describe this?
Okay.
All right.
You open the box, you see CDs, 25 in a row, tightly packed.
Yeah.
You remove the CDs, there was a layer of paper, and then under that would be the full length of that CD case, say about an 8-ball of cocaine.
Holy shit.
Live and well. We talking late 80s, dude.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's so amazing.
All the time. And, it was weird because I would have to get it, and the music director would know what's coming in because she would be told, hey, we sending a package or we sending a special package.
Oh, my God.
So she would tell me it should be 2 or 3. And she didn't get it. She would give it to other people.
Right.
But every once in a while, there was one left for us, and it would end up in the production room. Okay. Oh, man.
Oh, I'm so glad you're doing this hour with me. So
but
great.
You guys
no,
did
it's
the same
great.
thing, didn't
No.
you?
So basically, I always talk about this too. Mm-hmm. You worked in pretty much the tail end of real radio.
Yeah,
like
it died out.
It became like completely corporate. I mean,
now there's no DJ. Sometimes it could just be a station running with no DJ sitting there.
Yeah, and in so many cases too, radio stations would be in like some old fucking house or like some just regular building.
Yeah.
And then they turned into being like in high rises and just very corporate.
At KJLH, we were next to the Angeles Crest Funeral Home on Crenshaw, and there would be a Bloods or a Crips funeral twice a week.
Oh my God!
So
dude.
Yeah, we would have to. Oh, dude, that was terrible.
Yeah,
that was
sound
terrible,
fun.
dude. Oh.
God.
It made me think, especially being a young black man at that time. There was kids 10 years younger than me getting buried. Tough.
Yeah, dude, that's fucked up. Jesus. From there, you ended up moving into or going to a different radio station?
I worked at intern. And worked at several radio stations in LA. But I moved to Phoenix.
Oh, okay. That's the one where you started doing like the sports stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I started in LA and I was the third man on the totem pole, so I'm tired of that.
Oh, look at you. Tired of being with a number 2.
It was fun.
I'm tired
being
of
a Pasadena kid, there was fun. I worked 6 to 10 every night. That was cool. I could go eat dinner for free at certain restaurants that advertised with us. You know how that goes. Yeah. You spend some money, the DJs can come in and eat. And then I moved to
even the
Phoenix.
Promo guys.
Oh, anybody. If they knew you could eat for free.
Dude, I used to. I told my buddy Lee this. Dude, even if you acted like you knew what you were doing,
I was the kid.
Or you were supposed to be there, they would treat you differently. Like so, at the Mariners Stadium. This is pre 9/11. So at the Mariners Stadium, we would give all our tickets away. I'm like, we don't need our tickets. Mm-mm. We don't need them at all. We have a badge right here, and we'd walk all the way around the stadium, and we say hi to the security guys, and they go, "Hey, how you doing?" And then we just walk in, and we're like, "Now we're in the stadium."
Yeah, you gave them a T-shirt a time or two, didn't you?
What would we do? Yeah, we would give them. Yeah, we would give them prize stuff out of the prize cannons. Yep.
Yeah, T-shirts and CDs.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we were always friendly to them. They knew, what are we gonna do? We're wearing like our radio stuff, so it's like. But anyway, so you moved from being the number 3 guy in the totem pole to Phoenix.
I was the guy, only news and sports.
So that is a big jump. So going from number 3 to number 1.
Yeah,
there you go.
Smaller market, but I was the guy, so I went to all the Suns games. All the Cardinals games, they were still at ASU at that time. This was before they even had the Diamondbacks.
So what year are we looking at here? Early 90s? I
got here September 15th. I remember the day exactly, September 15th of 1995.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, we're still in the 90s. That's awesome. So that's a great – that's the peak of basketball.
Especially in this town.
Yeah,
in Phoenix,
right.
The Suns were good. They had Kevin Johnson.
And then a couple years later is the peak of baseball in this town?
Well, they started in 99, 98.
I don't know. I guess, like 2001, they went to the World Series, right?
Won the World Series.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now, but so you said you pretty much interviewed like everybody you could think of from that era, right?
Man, everybody came to Phoenix.
Yeah.
The Olympic team ever came here, and that was crazy because I did an interview with Shaq. He laying on the training table at America West. Now, I don't know what they call it now, but it was the Purple Palace, America West Arena at that time. And they working him. I'm like, man, I hear there may be a trade of you going to the Lakers. He was still playing in Orlando. He sits up, looks at me. That ain't going to happen. 3 days later, he was traded to LA. I'm like, come on, man.
Just wanted you breaking the news.
Yeah. I
That's
was a nobody.
Funny.
I was just
3 days later?
Guy. Yeah. 3 days later, man. I'm like, wow.
That's great.
The Olympic team made the big run, but they played in Phoenix that year. And Gary Payton was one of the best interviews I had.
Gary Payton's awesome. He's like so personable. He's probably one of the top 5 biggest trash talkers in NBA history.
And that's what I heard from other guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you just see him like just mouthing off constantly on the court.
When I played in LA, I couldn't do the Lakers because other guys did. Like I said, I was 3 on the totem pole, so I got to be the Clippers guy when they first moved there. Yeah, so I used to hear all this stuff about Gary Payton. He was always a good dude. Anytime you had a mic, threw it in his face.
Yeah,
he'd give you a bite.
No,
he'd say.
I've always seen him like super friendly in interviews and everything like that. But you put him on the court, man, he's gonna be flipping you shit, man. Yeah. Who's like your most memorable? I mean, besides the Shaq breaking the news 3 days after you talked to him about.
I could have been the man.
Oh, I know, like Zeke Hudson out of Phoenix breaks the story of.
I could have been on ESPN today, you know?
Right. And you said you have like tapes of a lot of these, right?
I kept them all. They're still on cassette. I still have them to this day. Every once in a while, my kids get to talk stuff, and I was like, dude, I interviewed so-and-so. And when I played Michael Jordan for them, they were like, wow, Dad,
that's awesome,
you know? Because dads tell stories.
Yeah.
Dads, we have
but you can back it up.
Oh, I got some backup, baby.
That's awesome. So you interviewed Michael Jordan?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite. But then I did also interviews of just, regular people in life. Yeah. A lot of times, like I said, I was the news and sports producer. Right. So one of my best interviews, which I probably never told you about, came from when they were holding hands across Pima Freeway to stop the 101 from coming through. And I interviewed one of the representatives from the Navajo Nation.
Holy crap.
The Pima Reservation, right up to 101 there off of Scottsdale. And I interviewed her, and, I got one of the best interviews
What was going on?
of my life.
What was the protest of that?
The city said, like, we're going to run this freeway through here, and the Navajo Nation were like, hey, Pima Nation were like, hey, this is our land. This is sovereign land. Yeah. You can't run through this. And now they have casinos.
Right.
The golf world and all kind of stuff going there. So the whole relationship has changed over the years. But at one time, they weren't taking any crap from Maricopa County. And I was there, and that was one of the best interviews I ever did that was non-sports related.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But the majority of them were just sports related. And then, of course, when you're in radio, it's the artist. And a lot of those, we talked about them before. I'd never talk about names. And it's funny because the people you think that are the craziest are the nicest, and the nicest people are butt licks. It's just weird how it works that way.
Now, did you ever? So you always talk about how there's just so many names. Now, was it primarily when you were doing the sports stuff? Which sports did you do the most interviews with?
It was football and basketball.
Football and basketball?
Because Arizona at that time didn't have baseball.
Oh, that's true,
to the very end.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it was 97 or 98. I'm trying to pinpoint the year in my mind, but I can't. But the Diamondbacks started at that time, and, they had built the stadium, and I had already started my own company. I even bidded on the masonry contract from there. I know I didn't have enough people. Yeah. But they even laughed, like, you send a bid in? I'm like, why not?
Might as well.
Yeah. I didn't have nothing to lose.
Now, you like interviewed all the old Cardinal guys back then. I'm assuming, who were the Cardinal guys back then?
Well, they have a Hall of Famer, and I'm trying to remember his name. It's skipping my mind right now. He was a defensive back.
And what is this? It starts with
Aeneas,
A. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Dude, great interview.
Yeah,
a very Christian man, and I was one of those guys that people used to give him a bad rap because he'd be beat up after the game. Leave the man alone. Aeneas. God, what is his first name?
I know exactly what you're talking about. We're just gonna kick ourselves.
I could remember. I didn't know that I would be talking about.
I know.
Him, but
that's
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We're just gonna have to I'll have to edit this in here. No.
Get it in there.
And then, did you interview other guys as well, like that were visiting
You always had the opportunity.
Did they ever play like Barry Sanders, or did you ever interview like the quiet guys like that?
I never got Barry Sanders, and the problem with me getting in the visitor locker room, is I had to get in the home team, the Cardinals locker room, right away. And by the time I got to the visitors locker room, they were all gone. Gotcha. So unless a guy was willing to sit down and give you a few extra minutes, man, they were getting on the bus. They were rolling out of town.
I hear them. Yeah, I just gotta. They have a job to do. Yeah. You want to get in, get out, kind of like you, kind of like everybody else.
Yeah, my job was Phoenix, so I made sure I had the Phoenix story first. And you would set up interviews when they got into town, the day before or earlier during that day before the game started. That's how you would get interviews with the out of town teams.
How about Charles Barkley?
Great interview.
I love Charles Barkley. How can you not like Charles Barkley?
He is exactly who you see him as on the TV.
Well, he's one of those guys that like he'll get in trouble for saying stupid shit, but it's like at least he's being honest. He
tells what he perceives as the truth. And most of us see it the same way.
Exactly. Well, that's what I listened to a lot of Howard Stern over the years. Howard Stern, he's probably the least knowledgeable guy about sports.
Yeah.
But that's what makes his sports interviews so good, is because he doesn't give a shit about the talking about sports. And you know what? The guys on there, they don't want to talk about that either, because all they ever talk about is sports.
All their life.
Yeah, so when he would have on, Lawrence Taylor, or like some of those giants, they'd be like, they loved it.
Howard wanted to talk. Who you fucking? That's what Howard
exactly.
wanted
Like
to know.
He's like Lawrence Taylor. How much coke did you do back in the day? Oh man, just crazy. Did you ever interview any boxers or any guys did you ever meet Muhammad Ali or anything like that?
I met Muhammad Ali this was his home when I first got here.
Right, yeah. And he died here too. He died in Scottsdale, North Scottsdale.
His daughter, Layla, was a fighter out of here, and when I first moved here, that was one of the first people I met, because he would come to the radio station 2 or 3 times a year just to hang out. He wanted to be at the radio station.
That's wild.
And so that was pretty cool in Phoenix. Phoenix is a lot smaller market than Los Angeles, but the people are tighter.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, it's kind of like it's almost, gosh, someone said it's like the biggest small town you'll ever go to.
There's a lot. You don't realize how many people are.
Well, it's
really
so spread
in
out, but it's
that's the issue.
It's
spread
not.
Out.
It's so spread out. It's almost like it's like not fair that they actually include the entire Phoenix area as Phoenix. So like, it's the number
County, dude.
Yeah,
wow.
They're like, hey, it's the number 5 biggest city in the country, and I'm like, okay, kind of. Like, I mean, that's like if you included like all of Western Washington. Like
exactly.
It's like
Phoenix.
Yeah, right. Yeah, come on, stop. And did you ever meet my big hero back in the day? But this is probably not gonna. Oh, you football? Dan Marino. Did you ever meet Dan Marino?
Oh yeah, he came through. I was able to
talk
to
Dan
him.
The man.
Never a good soundbite, because, like I said, he was on the visiting team, even in L.A. And the thing about it, in L.A., I was the visiting team guy. But I never got Dan Marino.
Marino was never a good interview anyways. So, like, he was all canned. Everything was like, he's kind of like Russell Wilson today. He's like, the Seahawks are, we're going to do really well. We have a lot of things going for us. Go
good
Hawks.
Player.
Yeah.
Good player.
Just exactly who you want to be. But nothing like a who's the golfer, the blonde guy, that is like, what's his name? The golfer, the guy that's like the drunk, John Daly, right?
John Daly.
Like
I met him, but the reason I couldn't interview him, because he look, it's too late. It's time to go to the 19th hole. Right. Any golfer knows the 19th hole.
Oh God.
So, and he was not available before.
So you've gone to a lot of the opens here, the Phoenix Opens?
Well, when I was doing radio in L.A., I didn't get into golf at that time.
Yeah.
And once I got out of radio, then I started going to the Phoenix Open.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I never went to a golf tournament and did interviews.
It's hard to describe to people that aren't from here how crazy and big that shuts down the city.
Bird's nest.
It is nuts. I mean, it is so crazy. It's like it's like when they joked about Happy Gilmore. Yeah. The movie Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler, where it's just like it's become a circus, blah blah blah. It's crazy. Well, that is this, but times 100 freaking times. There are so many people there. Girls are out there walking in mini skirts and like high heels, and you have like last year there was a guy that pulled down his pants. And took off his shirt, was running around on one of the greens, and the cops are like, I don't want to tackle him. Do you want to tackle him? I don't want to tackle him.
Who
Fuck
wants
that.
A face full of that. These nuts.
Exactly. So it's
like
it's that kind of crazy. Everyone's just freaking completely hammered. It's hilarious.
I used to tell my friends from California to explain the Phoenix Open.
Oh, man.
It's Colorado Boulevard, New Year's Eve. Titties flashing.
It's like Havasu. It's crazy.
Over.
It's nuts.
You get it. Yeah.
It really is. It's it's hard to explain, and it lasts like days. So, but it's
4
always
days to be exact.
But yeah, exactly. And it's that one big Saturday is
before
completely insane. It's out of control. But anyway,
nice bands at the Bird's Nest.
Yeah, they have, and then they have like concert series. So it's like actually a really fun time to come to this town. It's always in like February, like the beginning of February
every year,
right before the Super Bowl. Yeah, yeah, right. And then but it's like usually it's like nice weather and just it's great.
Phoenix is popping early February, like you said. The Super Bowl
everything's
parties
always
and all.
And the Super Bowl is here every 4 or 5 years.
So a good place.
Yeah. So who are some of the artists that you I skipped over some of the artists that you came in to the stations when you were in there. You said this pretty much every. Were you always at the R&B stations?
We were the only ball game. Well, we had K-Day, but they were AM.
Oh,
but
forget about it.
We were the only ball game in LA, and then when I moved to Phoenix, this was before they had 99.3. 106.9, which is now a Hispanic station. It was the only ball game in Phoenix, so we saw them all.
You like Bobby Brown?
You name them. You name them. They came through old, new.
Did you ever have Milli Vanilli come in? They only lasted a couple of years.
Funny. There's something you don't understand about radio stations. I'm gonna be quite honest.
Okay.
They're fucking biased. So Milli Vanilli would never come through an R&B station. That's just true.
Yeah, they were pretty pop. They were like very pop. But you know what? So
not R&B.
But Bobby Brown was like.
Oh, he's the man.
He's very poppy.
He was the man. But you
guys played New Edition. They were pretty.
Yeah,
pop.
I met him with New Edition during the time he got kicked out. And that's when I met them, and everybody's seen this.
But that really hurt his career, getting kicked out of that group.
Made more money. Then he married Whitney. Come on, man.
Right? Yeah.
Kick me out and give me Whitney. I'll sign up for that.
Poor guy. Did you ever meet Rick James?
Oh yeah.
That's all.
He was a regular.
How about Charlie Murphy? Did you ever meet?
He was a regular.
That's awesome.
A regular. See, the radio stations are like the B-list thing in the world.
Right.
So you could be a superstar, but at one point in your life, you either B before you get to A, or you go from A and you come to B. And you're going to see us at the radio station.
Well, again, too, back in the 50s and, the early 60s, we was talking about those DJs.
Yeah.
They were like national names. They were, and even the local guys in everybody's town, they were celebrities. They were big stars.
Yeah.
Right? And then obviously the artists were big, but the artists, they loved a lot of the DJs too because
they played their records.
Yeah, exactly.
And the artists, would contribute to Payola as well.
Exactly.
So it wasn't only the cocaine coming in the mail. The artist would show up.
I'll come and hang out with you.
And the DJ would get the leftovers from the limo.
Exactly.
You got lucky all the time.
Now you mentioned before you grew up in Pasadena, California.
Yes.
Now to me, as an outsider from Seattle, I knew that area because of the Rose Bowl, the Tournament of Roses. The parade, on New Year's. So it was one of those things where it was like the first thing that everybody saw on New Year's Day. And you said you went to a lot of those, right?
Oh yeah, we
because it was like right in your backyard, right?
Yeah. Our church was 2 blocks, historical black church. It's a landmark, Friendship Baptist Church in Pasadena, California. It was just 2 blocks south of Colorado. So we would just, go there the night before. Everybody would move up and pick a spot. You do the twilight service for church, and then you go out and party.
That's awesome.
That's how it rolled.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So one of the first things that I saw, growing up, like a white kid in Seattle, Seattle area. I knew as a rock fan, I knew that Van Halen was from Pasadena.
Ice House.
I know that Jan and Dean song, the little old lady from Pasadena. Yeah. So and then I saw that Jackie Robinson was from Pasadena.
His house was 3 doors down from my grandfather's.
Are you
house.
Serious? That's crazy.
It's like there's a sign there.
No way.
Historical landmark. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we grew up as kids, and at this time, his wife was still alive when we were kids.
And you said that you went to school with the famous basketball player Stacey Augmon. Is that right?
Stacey Augmon, and there's another one. He used to be a coach in the NBA. He went to high school. Augmon went to high school with my sister in '88. Okay, that's when he was a center. So that was nice. His mother lived right around the corner from my parents. That was.
Where did he end up?
Pasadena is small.
Now,
Jacques Vaughn, that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay, now where did he end up going to school? Stacey Ogman, where did he end up going to school?
UNLV.
UNLV?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that during the...
Jacques Vaughn went to Kansas.
Was that during the UNLV time of the the scandal?
With grandmama. He played with him.
Oh, that's great. And then so in high school, didn't you told me that Pasadena growing up was a very white kind of like community?
The majority of it, you had the haves and the haves not everywhere.
Right.
But Pasadena is old money. And
Gotcha.
when my parents live in an area around the Rose Bowl, that's just money. And then, of course, we have our ghettos. But Pasadena, primarily, they own their own water and electric company.
Right.
How many small cities have that?
Yeah, no, that's pretty wild. Yeah. Like, it's funny. I was curious, so I looked up some of the demographics of Pasadena. In 1970, 80% of the population was white.
Yeah, it's
and
different now.
Yeah, 16% was black. Now, fast forward to 2011. So in 2010, the amount of white people had dropped to 56%. And the black population actually decreased to 11%.
They moved out. Hispanics
and now,
moved in.
Now it's like lots of Hispanics. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, did you experience any racism like back in the day, or?
Well, we did when we played Pasadena High School because they were predominantly white. And then all of the so-called ghetto kids. See, I grew up on a block where we were one of the only black families. White family, wow.
Right.
We were only
you need another refill on your drink over here?
Hey, swatch it, mister. We were only one of the black families within like a 4-mile radius. They had maybe 2 or 3. We lived on a corner. We just had a good time. I got a car when I was 16.
Yeah, like your stories are all like... It makes me like jealous that you grew up in like that area.
Rich, but I'm not.
Right, exactly. So yeah. Now, did you see any of the? So this is funny. Some of the movies that were filmed in your area. Wow. There's like tons, but I just picked out a couple. So like
South Pasadena, we count that from Pasadena.
So there's a Pee-wee's Big Adventure from 1985, the house.
You had to bring that out.
So
that's the one movie you could have left off. Okay.
But it was at 1848 Oxley Street in South Pasadena. That's what you just said. You said South. We count South Pasadena.
That,
All right. Okay.
When it comes to movies, besides that, we want to kill him in football.
And then Michael J. Fox, the house from Teen Wolf, is in South Pasadena, and Marty's mom's house is from Back to the Future when she was a teenager. They were both filmed in South Pasadena at the 1727 Bushnell Avenue.
No, that we driven by there.
Gotcha.
Just, you drink and let's go by the Back to the Future house.
Right. Now,
Sierra Madre had a lot of homes in movies too.
Gotcha.
Very affluent area.
I don't know the areas, but I saw that. But one of my favorite places filmed in Pasadena was the really cool old looking house from the movie. I don't even know if you remember this movie. It was called House, and it was you remember William Catt from the curly-haired blonde guy from The Greatest American Hero.
Okay, I
remember that show? He's like, he couldn't fly and he would always crash. He's like, look at what's happened to me.
Yeah, I remember that.
Anyway, that
sitcom,
they said that was that cool-looking old house. I want to go there because like it's such a cool-looking house.
I never went to that house.
Yeah, so it's in Pasadena. So next time you're in town, send me a pic.
Pasadena or South
Pasadena? I don't
Pasadena?
know, but South Phoenix, North Phoenix. I would drive to South Phoenix if this house was there. But but anyway, how was the Navy? How was being in the military? I was not in the military. How was boot camp crazy back in the day?
Yeah, it was a trip.
They put you through some
that started
crazy
me
shit?
smoking. That put me.
That started you smoking. That's great. So
I
you
didn't smoke
the Navy.
in high school. Yeah. Guys got an extra break. So if you smoked, you could go outside and have an extra break, and the other guys wrote letters, or you could smoke and write letters. And just you got an extra break if you smoke. So I started smoking cigarettes, dude, at the age of 18. I was an athlete, man, and started smoking.
Well, thank you, Uncle Sam.
But I have a few Navy stories, but
maybe we could leave that for the next time you come in.
I'll visit again anytime, dude.
Dude, it's been awesome having you on. Appreciate you coming in, and we're gonna definitely have to do this again. You're always fun and easy to talk to. We have I'm sure you can bring up tons of other stories. I have other stuff that I had on the list that we could talk about, and until then, we'll check you later. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Josh. Peace.
All right, have a good one. Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends podcast. If you have any questions or comments about today's show, feel free to leave a message in the comment section below. If you enjoyed listening to the podcast, please share away. And make sure you give me a like or a good review. I can always use the help. I'm Josh, and thank you for being a friend.